Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly forgotten why you went there? Or started a conversation only to lose your train of thought seconds later? Most people laugh it off and say, that's just aging. But short-term memory loss can sometimes be one of the earliest warning signs of cognitive decline, dementia, or even Alzheimer's disease. And the frightening part is it often begins very quietly. Inside your brain is a small but incredibly important structure called the hippocampus. The name comes from the Greek word for seahorse because of its shape. You actually have two hippocampi, one on the left side of the brain and one on the right. This part of the brain acts like your memory center. It helps create, organize, and store short-term memories. But here's the problem. As you age, the hippocampus naturally begins to shrink. That means your ability to remember things can slowly decline over time. However, aging is not the only thing damaging your memory. There are several hidden factors silently destroying the hippocampus every single day, and most people have no idea it's happening. The first one is lack of oxygen. Your brain requires enormous amounts of oxygen to function properly. When oxygen levels decrease, the hippocampus becomes vulnerable to damage. That's why people who rarely exercise or spend most of the day sitting often complain about brain fog, forgetfulness, and poor concentration. The second major factor is stress. Chronic stress doesn't just affect your mood. It can actually cause the hippocampus to shrink over time. The more stress your body experiences, the greater the damage to the brain's memory center. And in today's world, stress has become almost impossible to avoid. Another major threat is high blood sugar. People with diabetes or those eating a diet loaded with sugar and refined carbohydrates are at a much higher risk for hippocampal damage. High-carb diets don't just affect your waistline. They can directly impact your memory and cognitive function as well. Then there are nutritional deficiencies. Vitamin B1 is one of the most important nutrients for brain health. Without enough B1, the hippocampus struggles to function properly, leading to poor memory, confusion, and difficulty concentrating. Vitamin D is also critical. Out of all the regions in the brain, the hippocampus appears to be one of the most affected by vitamin D deficiency. And unfortunately, vitamin D deficiency is incredibly common today, especially among older adults and people who spend little time in the sun. Zinc deficiency can also create serious problems. Low zinc levels may impair the hippocampus and contribute to short-term memory loss and mental fatigue. Now here's the good news. The hippocampus is one of the very few parts of the brain capable of regeneration. That means your brain has the ability to heal and rebuild itself, if you start giving it the right support. One of the most powerful ways to restore the hippocampus is regular exercise. Physical activity increases oxygen delivery to the brain and stimulates the growth of new brain cells. Even something as simple as long daily walks can make a huge difference in memory and mental clarity. Another powerful tool is intermittent fasting. Fasting increases a compound called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of BDNF as fertilizer for the brain. It helps stimulate the creation of new nerve cells and protects the hippocampus from aging and degeneration. You also want to make sure you're getting enough vitamin D, vitamin B1, and zinc through food and supplementation when needed. Foods rich in zinc include shellfish, red meat, and beef liver. Nutritional yeast is another excellent source of vitamin B1 that can help support brain health. But there's one more thing that may be even more important than most people realize. Ketones. Ketones are an incredibly efficient fuel source for the brain, especially for the hippocampus. In fact, the brain often functions better on ketones than it does on glucose. So how do you increase ketones? One of the best ways is by reducing sugar and refined carbohydrates and following a low-carb or ketogenic-style diet. When carbohydrate intake drops, the body begins burning fat for fuel, producing ketones in the process. MCT oil can also help boost ketone production quickly. These special fats are rapidly converted into ketones and are easily used by the brain for energy. The important thing to understand is this. Memory loss is not always just normal aging. In many cases, the brain is struggling because of poor diet, chronic stress, inactivity, nutrient deficiencies, and unstable blood sugar levels. The encouraging news is that you can begin supporting your brain starting today. Move your body more. Reduce stress whenever possible. Sleep better. Cut back on sugar. Increase nutrients like vitamin D, B1, and zinc. And protect your hippocampus before mild forgetfulness turns into something much more serious. Because sometimes, forgetting where you left your keys is more than simple absent mindedness.